Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today's episode is called The Best Movies on Amazon for the week of April 24th, 2020. Have you been spending a lot of time at home and you're beginning to run out of things to watch on Amazon? We've got some great suggestions for you. Before I begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, follow, and comment on the show, as well as to tell you that the show is sponsored by HollywoodIsCalling.com. It's a company which allows you to purchase live calls with hundreds of celebrities. The calls are $19.95 and $29.95, and you can purchase and you can select from more than 100 celebrities. The calls are all live, and you can talk to the celebrity live, or they can leave a message on your voicemail. So give it a try. It's a great gift for yourself or for somebody you know. Once again, that's HollywoodIsCalling.com. Now let's get started. So you're sitting at home looking for something good to watch on Amazon? We've got some really good and very entertaining recommendations. Some of these are free, some of them are movies, and some of them are TV shows. But it's still going to be a lot cheaper than going out to the movies. The first movie is called Hustler, or Hustlers rather, and it stars Jennifer Lopez. For this movie, you'll have to pay to rent it on Amazon at this time. But I'm sure in a few months it will be available for free. Hustlers is both a comedy and a crime drama that was released in 2019. It's about a group of strippers in New York who steal money from their male clients by drugging them and taking advantage of them back at the strip club. Most of their clients are CEOs and stock traders who visit the club, and once the women get them in there, they run up their credit cards. In this movie, Jennifer Lopez plays a character that she's played repeatedly in a number of her past movies. She loves these roles where she plays the really good-looking but broke and desperate single girl who just needs to make some money and is willing to do anything to make it, usually in some illegal way. You know, having said that, the film is still fun and it's very entertaining. Jennifer seems to excel in these roles. As most of the movies she's done where she plays a character like this have done really well financially at the box office. The fact that the movie is based on a real-life story just makes it even more interesting and entertaining. You know, the real-life strippers who did this in New York back in the day, they made a ton of money before they were actually caught and arrested. The next movie is Rambo: Last Blood. Rambo was made and was released in 2019. It was starring Sylvester Stallone. And once again, the story is about a Vietnam War veteran named John Rambo as he travels to Mexico to save his adopted daughter who was kidnapped by a Mexican cartel and forced into prostitution. The film is basically a continuation of the Rambo character. Intriguingly, John Rambo is now a cowboy living in the Southwest, and just the sight of him riding a horse and living on a ranch is so contrary to what people are used to seeing that it makes this movie somehow more entertaining. One thing the movie does very dramatically is that it really ramps up and increases the amount of violence that's normally seen in a Rambo movie. You know, people's heads are blown off. You know, there's endless machine gun fire and explosions. So the violence is extremely elevated in this movie. Now, that kind of violence might be over the top for some people, but it's really not for Rambo fans and for Stallone fans. They actually love this sort of thing. So I think Rambo First Blood or Rambo Last Blood will be exactly what the fans want. Lots of action and even more violence than his characters have displayed in the past. The next movie is called I Am Legend. And it's a science fiction movie starring Will Smith that came out in 2007. You know, it's about the last man on Earth who struggles to survive fighting off an infected plague of zombie-like creatures. And as a scientist, while he's fighting them off, he's also looking for a cure to deal with this virus that's killed off humanity. Now, while he's working on that cure, he's continually being attacked, and that's not just a normal attack. These are ongoing attacks by blood-sucking, very fast-moving, vampire-like creatures. And the one visually striking thing about them is that they move faster and they're much stronger than human beings. So when they film these attack sequences, they look very intense because of it. Now, Will Smith has made a number of movies that fall into this action slash sci-fi category, and many of them have been quite good. You know, movies like I, Robot, Independence Day, Men in Black. Those movies have been really entertaining and really successful at the box office. One thing he does really well is he incorporates stunning sci-fi imagery into his films, imagery that's really memorable and very striking. You know, there are scenes in this movie, for example, where he's on the deck of an aircraft carrier playing golf while standing next to an SR-71 Blackbird spy plane. You know, it's very striking apocalyptic imagery, and it's one of the things that makes his movies so memorable. There are other scenes, other really clever scenes in the movie of these vampire creatures attacking him and plotting his attack. And it's all filmed in really intense and energetic ways. So if you're a fan of the whole action sci-fi genre, then this will definitely be a movie you'll enjoy. The next one is a TV show. It's the debut of season 6 of Bosch. Bosch is a crime drama set in Los Angeles, and it stars Titus Welliver. He's a Los Angeles police detective who plays a character named Harry Bosch. The show is really well acted, but what really makes it pop is the writing. Bosch plays a detective who's also a successful crime writer, and that gives the show an elevated dialogue that keeps surprising you with how intelligent and innovative it is. I was surprised by how entertaining season 6 was. And so much so that I think a lot of people are going to binge watch on this one. The next one is called True Grit. This is another great movie on Amazon that is a Western that was released in 2010 starring Jeff Bridges. And I think it's actually better than the original starring John Wayne. It's about a 14-year-old farm girl named Maddie Rose who hires a trigger-happy lawman to help her find the man who killed her father. Now, just when the bickering between these two couldn't possibly get any worse, they're joined on their quest by a Texas Ranger named LeBeau, who's played by Matt Damon. And the three of them decide to go off on an adventure to pursue this guy, this killer, this murderer, for their own reasons. Jeff is doing it for the money, the daughter's doing it for revenge, and LeBeau's doing it because he wants an even bigger reward. Together, they turn this adventure into an extremely well-written and endlessly entertaining Western that's a lot of fun to watch. I think this movie is going to cement Jeff Bridges' reputation as one of the greatest character actors of his generation. You know, I find this movie to be almost impossible to dislike. A lot of that has to do with the fact that it was directed by the Coen brothers. And their movies are always great. So the next movie is called Brawl in Cell Block 99. And this is a crime drama that was released in 2019 starring Vince Vaughn. The film is about Bradley Thomas, who loses his job and comes home to discover his wife cheating on him with another man. After smashing her car window with his bare hands, Bradley decides to go back and work on his marriage. But as you would suspect, eventually he decides to return to the life of crime, to pay the bills and to help his marriage work. Of course, it doesn't work out the way he thought it would, and that leads his life down a very dark path. Now, this is like a surprisingly complicated story that somehow makes it even more compelling by being really dark. It's both dramatic and surprising in a number of ways because it leads its audience into some really dark places. And at first I thought it would be too dark and depressing, but it walks the line so carefully that it ends up being a very compelling and entertaining movie. So the last movie is going to be a classic called The Great Escape. This is a war movie starring Steve McQueen that was released back in 1963. And I know a lot of you might be thinking that's too old, it's not going to be interesting, but trust me, This is a classic that you are going to enjoy. Uh, this is an epic war film. It's based on real events during World War II. It's about the escape attempt of Allied prisoners from a German prisoner of war camp. In addition to starring Steve McQueen, it also stars some great actors like James Garner and Richard Attenborough, who are extraordinary in this movie. Essentially, what they're doing is they are plotting and planning a mass breakout of all the prisoners from the camp, and they want to do it right under the noses of the Germans. The camp, what makes it compelling is that the camp is designed to be inescapable. So that ratchets things up to a whole new level. What I like about this movie is the way it displays the true human spirit, the indomitable human spirit of people during World War II, who will endure extraordinary things in order to solve an impossible problem, and that is to escape from a German POW camp. Now, World War II was a time that was infinitely more difficult and challenging than what's happening in our culture now. But that's what makes the film such a classic, is that it should allow everybody watching it now to see what real problems are, how bad things can really get. Then suddenly, not being able to go out to the bars may not seem, like such a challenge. So having said that, I want to thank you for watching, and we will talk to you soon.